Hey guys, this is Al again. You're looking at my 1988 Mercedes Benz Euro 560 SEC. I've had this car since about 2009, but I've been neglecting it for the last 4 or 5 years. For some reason, I stopped driving this car about 4 years ago and I stuffed it in the back of the shop. And recently, I've had the urge to drive a 126 again, so I got it insured. I was planning to rebuild the front end and start driving it again, but it wouldn't start. This car uses the Bosch CIS fuel injection, CISE, which is notorious for gumming up if you don't drive the car and if you let the fuel sit for a long time. So this footage is from a couple of years ago when I filmed this car, but I wanted to show you what the car looked like before we moved on to inside the building, because it's pretty dark and you really can't see that well, so I apologize for that. But anyway, let's move on to the actual video. So a little bit of a frustrating turn. I went to get it running the other day to pull it back into the shop. I bought some tools to rebuild the front end. You need a special ball joint press. Friggin' thing wouldn't start, so I think I know what the problem is. Let me take you over to the car and I'll show you. But it's in a part of the building that's a little bit darker than it, doesn't really have very good lighting. But what I think the problem is, flip this over. I think the issue is this guy right here. And what I think is going on, because I can't get it running, I can get it running by pouring fuel down the intake, down this little plenum over here, but I can't get the car to fire. And I think what the problem is that this fuel distributor is now stuck. So I'm going to remove it and I'm going to see if I can get the piston to free up. Some of you guys may have seen a video that I posted probably about a year ago now, where I explained how these fuel distributors can gum up, and I think that this is basically what's happened. I think that the car's been sitting for a fairly long time, and the piston's stuck, and as a result, the car doesn't want to run. So I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to take it down to the main part of the shop. I'm going to see if I can blow out the fuel distributor and get it running. So, all right. So basically, what you need, 12mm wrench to undo these bolts over here, and this one over here to the top. I think you need a 17 for these two, and then a hex bit to undo the top bolts on the fuel distributor. So let's start by. Oh, and then you also need a 10mm for this one over here, which is a bolt that holds down the fuel hose. So let's see if we can get all of this stuff off real quickly. these aren't very tight. This will probably explain. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a vacuum leak right there. So this is the fuel distributor. I was expecting this to be seized up, but it's not. So that's a positive thing. If it's not seized up, then this thing should work. I don't know why it doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blow a little bit of compressed air through it, and then I'll be back and I'll put it back together again and see if I can get some fuel running. Alright guys, so I'm putting everything back together again now. Which always moves a little bit slower than taking it off, but that is what it is. So these fuel distributor lines, they're made out of alloy, and it's very, very easy to cross thread them. And so my recommendation is to always tighten them by hand all the way down as much as you can before putting a wrench on them, because if you cross thread it, it's kind of ugly. So it's better to avoid doing that than having to deal with that as a mess. So it's best to just basically work them in by hand. Make sure that they're on pretty much all the way down, and that way you don't have to worry about cross threading them. And if you can't get them on, just keep jiggling with it until you get it on, but don't put a wrench on it because you can't. System without pouring fuel into the intake. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get fuel to the fuel rail, and the way I found that out is by disconnecting the feed line, which is that line over there, that one over there, and you know, I could see that I wasn't getting any fuel to the fuel system. Now, I thought that the fuel pumps are okay because I could hear the fuel pump spin. But this car has two fuel pumps, so if one of them fails and the other one's okay, then you'll hear a fuel pump, but it won't be feeding fuel up to the fuel rails. So that's what's going on right now, is I am hearing a fuel pump. It's probably one of the fuel pumps, but I'm not getting fuel up to the rail. As a result, you know, the car's not running under its own power. I'm able to pour fuel into the intake and get it running, and it runs okay. I mean, it sounds okay, but if you know, it won't run under its own power. So what I've got to do is I've got to drag this car out, push it out, and try to get it, you know, onto the lift so I can sort the pumps out. I have a bunch of CISE fuel pumps dotted around the shop, so I'm sure I can get the thing running without too much of a fuss, but it's not going to happen today. So I'm going to upload the video anyway because I think it's pretty useful to see how this fuel distributor comes apart, but unfortunately it's not a one-shot deal, and I wasn't able to get it running right now. Alright, so that's it for now. Thanks very much, and hopefully I'll have some more positive news for you this weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.